73 degrees. Sun is out. And we are headed to the gun store. Timber Outdoors. I think it's Timber Outdoors. It's out in Athens. So we'll see how it goes. Man, I tell you what, I don't know if you guys been paying attention to the ATF, the new ATF guy. He is making things happen, man. All states, reciprocity. No more gun permits. No more wait times on gun purchases. No more mandatory classes for states that think that for you to have a handgun, they can make a decision based upon you don't know how to use one, you got to go to a class to get one. No more waiting times. California, New Jersey, Colorado. You know, over there you put in a request for you walk into, you know, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia. You walk in, do your background check, and you purchase your firearm and you get your firearm. In those other states, they have a 10 to 12 day wait time, and sometimes they can hold it for longer than that. Some of those states require that you have a job that you utilize a firearm to even be able to have one as a citizen. So the ATF, the new captain, he did a press conference, and he said basically that, you know, the past 34 gun laws that have been passed, you know, they hinder the American people, the ones that actually have weapons to defend their families and their homes and themselves, the ones that aren't out here doing criminal intent. The 34 laws that they passed on guns, you know, having to buy tax stamps and FTRs and silencers and things like that, right? He knocked down all those laws that were proposed, that were in place from the last administration. And he's now made it to where people can just go get a firearm to protect themselves and their families. And it is absolutely one of the milestones of the ATF that we've ever seen. I mean, the only thing ATF's ever done is tie the hands behind the people that aren't committing crimes. And because the criminals, they don't play by rules, so by him knocking down all 34 rules is one of the biggest things that's ever happened in my time anyway for the ATF. It almost seems like the ATF, so the guy that did the press conference, and he said he's 1,000% focused on what the ATF is about. The ATF is about gun smuggling, drugs, and criminals that have firearms, and he's 1,000% dedicated to going after those individuals, and no more the ATF going after the homeowner, the person that buys an FTR and they knock on your door, the person that buys too many handguns and they knock on your door. Everything's already in place. You go and get a firearm, you got to do a background check. You know, everything's the same. You know, can't, for a felon, you can't have a firearm. If you've been in an institution in the past 5 years, whether it be any type of institution, a drug rehab, a mental institution, you can't have a firearm. All those are same in place. So it's even word on the street that he is going to even give the felons a chance to be able to return to their gun rights if they're not violent crimes. So a lot of good things happening, man. A lot of good things happening if you're in that space. And a lot of people aren't even paying attention to it. I mean, down here in the South, they really don't pay attention to it. But down here, the big thing to pay attention to is, you know, your SBRs, short-barreled rifles, your anything that required a tax stamp for you to pay an additional $200 to have, and then register it through the ATF with an engraving on it, is also going to be removed. So, pistol brace rule. Let's get on this highway. I don't know how good y'all are going to be able to hear me, but let me get done on this highway and I'll be back with y'all shortly. Just chilling on the highway, man. 70 miles an hour. Riding behind semis. Chilling! Right. Off the highway. I was just chilling on the highway too, doing like 70. So anyway, shout out to the ATF for real. I never thought I would be saying the ATF is finally doing what they're supposed to do. because they've been such a dang corrupt part of the government. But hopefully they keep to what they say. But it went into effect yesterday, so that's all states. Reciprocity gun carry. You don't need a permit. You don't need, but anyway, even if you have a permit, it's easier just to do stuff, you know. It's easier to buy guns. It's easier to, if anything happens, if you're in another state, you know, I don't know. Even though you don't need to pay the $17 a year or whatever to have it anymore, no more gun permits, which I believe in that too. You shouldn't have to pay for something that's a right, you know, to be able to carry concealed for something that's a right, you know. So, but anyway, I like to keep one anyway, just in case. You know, it's so easier to, when you buy guns and stuff, you got a permit, it's just quicker. Here we are, winter timber outdoors. Trying to be nice, but I don't think they're going to go. So in this part of winter timber outdoors, you have all your hunting stuff, your ammo, and on this side, you have guns. And a little bit of parking. Employee of the month parks up front. Me and a beer can. Oh. Me and a beer can. All right, winter timber outdoors. They got knives and everything in here. So let's go check it out. All righty. Well, I made it out. I didn't even buy anything. But as usual, I come in, I look at kind of what I'm looking at. I even have about 2 or 3 things in mind, or 2 things in mind. I narrow it down to 2. So now I've narrowed it down to 2. Now I'll go home and really put it to the test, really, you know, get online and play the differences to make sure I make the best move, you know, on out of the 2 guns. So that's typically what I do. And then I'll come back and get the one I need. Good prices over here. I've always bought like most stuff like that. I never just go in and like, because I've been looking at what I want, but then I get in there and I feel them and I start holding them and I think, okay, didn't expect that. And then this one brand really felt good in my hand. I said, you know what, let me go home. Let me kind of do some reviews on it. Let me look at it. Let me really dig into both of these and see which one I want. So I've never been that kind of spender where you just walk in there. It's like, oh, I like that, and I just grab it, you know. So That's just how I roll. So let's get out of here. Head back. Let's head on back. Ooh, busy today. Yeah, when it comes to dropping money like that, man, I am too damn cheap just to spend that type of money without doing reviews on it. And I don't care if it's $100 or $1,000. I'll do the same thing, and anytime I'm buying anything, now that I've narrowed it down to kind of the two I want, I'll go home and I'll just do reviews and look and weigh the differences, the options, what the people say, the problems, the issues, warranties, blah, 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 blah. And I'll pull the trigger and I'll feel good about it. Because I was just stuck at that counter for 45 minutes with looking at both of them going, oh my God, which one? Finally, I pulled myself off the dang. Finally, I pulled myself off enough to pulled myself off the counter before I made a decision. Because I was just going to buy one. Like, oh, okay, this is the one. But then, man, I don't know. I like to do. So, I like to review it and look and make sure. You know, because spending money. But, like we say, you know, hey, you can't take it with you. Can't just stockpile. Can't take it with you. Can't have it in your casket or your urn. So, but that's it, guys. I'm going to head back, hit this highway. And I will talk to y'all later.